Hey, what did you think about the last sales professional who sold you something? Was it good, not so good? Were you moved to leave a video review or write a review on a real estate app? Jason Jakus knows how important the reviews are, and he'll tell you why on this episode of the Royal Palmcast, which starts right now.
From the studios of the Royal Palm Coast Realtor Association in Fort Myers, Florida, this episode is a short takes edition of the Royal Palmcast with your host, Jim Sanville.
Hello and welcome to the Royal Palmcast. I'm Jim Sanville, your host, and we're coming to you today from the production studios of the Royal Palm Coast Realtor Association in beautiful, sunny Fort Myers, Florida. I'm here today with Jerry Johnson, our producer extraordinaire, and a special guest we'll introduce in just a moment. Jerry, how's your world? Everything going all right?
The world is going well. It's spinning around. It is beautiful and sunny out here in Fort Myers, Florida today.
The world keeps twirling.
And we have yet another interview with a great guest who's a wealth of information, which you can introduce.
I will introduce him. His name is Jason Jakus, and he has actually been a guest with us in a couple of recent episodes. And if you've heard of Jason, that's no surprise. He is very well known in real estate circles here in Southwest Florida and elsewhere. Jason has done it all. He's an author. He's a consultant. He's a business coach. He hosts a couple of podcasts and has been on the local TV shows and others as a real estate expert, sharing what he knows about the business. He runs his own brokerage here, real estate brokerage, with 3 offices. It's called Next Home Advisors. It's based in Fort Myers, and he stays very busy with that and lots of other things. He's a board member here at RPCRA and a director of Florida Realtors. This is the guy who literally wrote the book about real estate. We like to call him Mr. Real Estate. Is that okay with you, Jason?
I'm fine with that.
Still
Absolutely.
Okay? Okay,
Yep.
Good. Jason, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Jim. I appreciate it.
Glad to have you here. Today, we want to talk a little bit about reviews. People leave reviews, and they're important, I take it, right?
I think they're critically important. I think, sometimes we wear a real estate hat versus the consumer hat. But whenever we go to find a place to eat, right, we go to TripAdvisor or Yelp, go to a new city. I went to Savannah. My wife and I went to Savannah and look for places to eat, look for things to do. And we used all these different, TripAdvisor. So there's a lot of studies done, and people will trust a stranger, somebody else writing a review, sometimes more than their family members, right, from recommendation standpoint. So we constantly in our world use reviews. And so that's how we shop. That's how we make buying decisions. And it's important for real estate. People are starting to use reviews heavily on selecting a real estate professional to help them find or sell their current home. I think it's critically important.
Now, there's a lot of reviews out there, especially in the retail world. I'm thinking of online retailers. You know who the usual suspects are, but a lot of the reviews that I read are kind of hinky. You don't know if someone's being paid to do that. That isn't such a problem in the real estate business, is it?
I don't think it is, and there's a couple reasons for that. So the biggest platforms in real estate, in my opinion, for reviews, the first one would be Zillow. For a lot of reasons. And there's a love-hate relationship with a lot of agents with Zillow. I happen to like them. I think they have a place in our space and what they do, and they do it very well. But they've got the most eyeballs on a website for consumers to go to, right? So looking for properties, et cetera. And consumers can leave reviews for an agent on there. Now, as a consumer, I have to have a login and a password. So if you've got a lot of time and you want to make up a lot of logins and passwords to leave yourself reviews, then you got a lot of time in your hands. But most of the time, these are more validated, more credible because of the way they have to sign up to leave that review for that agent. The second, in my opinion, is Google. And Google's a great place. Google reviews have been around for a long time. It helps with SEO, which is search engine optimization for businesses. And that's also, you have to have a Gmail account in order to log in and be validated to leave that review. So those are 2 platforms that require the consumer to leave a review and have a login and credentials, which gives that review process credibility. There's other review platforms out there that may not be as credible because there's no way to leave a necessarily a password or whatever for that review. And I always look at websites. I always tell people, what's on the website, don't ever trust. Google that person. Find out what else comes up and what other locations, right? Zillow or Realtor.com or wherever else you may find reviews. If they're just on my website, I can publish that. And I can put a name and a review there.
From my perspective, you tell me if I'm wrong, Jason, real estate and real estate agency reviews tend to be credible because they generally refer to a specific transaction. I bought this house from Jane, and then I convinced my mother-in-law she should work with her too, that kind of thing. Right,
and that they usually tie back to a transaction. And that's how you know they're credible. And I also think too, real estate agents don't have the time to be sitting there manufacturing them, right? So, but I always tell people, go out and search and find them. That's one of the things that I take the most pride in is the amount of reviews that we get in both our office and personally. To me, that's validation we've done our job.
If you're a realtor, a real estate agent, broker, how much should you be coaching, if at all, your customers to leave reviews for you? How do you handle that?
I do everything in the first, really what I call the first meeting. So you've got two types of consumers. You've got a seller and a buyer. So in a buyer consultation, which is the first meeting you'll have with them, I let them know I'm going to ask them for a review. And prior to really getting involved in Zillow, I would do video reviews. So, and here's how that whole thing works. It's really kind of a circle. So you and your wife decide you want to work with me. I'm going to send you some links to those video reviews I've already gotten, or a link to my Zillow reviews I've already gotten, and say, check out what my consumers are saying about me. So you're going to see them. When we sit down and meet, I'm going to say, Jim, one of the things I'm going to ask for you at the end, if I exceed your expectations, I'm going to ask you for referrals. I'm also going to ask you to give me a testimonial about the experience that you had during the time we're either selling your home or purchasing your new home. I'm going to ask for that up front. Because at the end, as you get to closing, the consumer always says, is there anything else I need to do? Did you get that review in, by the way? Oh, no, I didn't. Great, I'll send you a link for you to go ahead and sign up and do that. So if you're planting the seed up front, it's a lot easier to ask for it at the end. But you do have to ask for it. There's times we're on 3 or 4 emails, and we've given great service. They are very happy. It's just a time thing and being able to do those reviews and being able to ask for that review.
Now, there are... as you mentioned, if a review on a realtor's website has a certain amount of credibility, are those the most credible, do you think?
I would say the most credible would be the ones that they have to log in and password and credentials to get to. So, any of the online portals that they can search on. Another one I see agents using a lot is LinkedIn and getting a lot of reviews on LinkedIn. That, again, you have an account that goes with that for somebody else that has a profile. On Zillow, that consumer's got a consumer profile. So those to me are the most credible.
Sure.
Now, does it mean that it's not true if it's on the website? Absolutely not. Sure. People can copy and paste and put that right in there, or embed those actual reviews and testimonials right in their website too.
Now, I know there is a certain percentage of people who cannot be pleased, and I'm guessing that they will occasionally leave a negative review. How do you handle that if you're a real estate agent?
So it's funny you said that. I had one that was in February for a company. And I called and asked her why she felt obliged to leave that review. Find out later she wasn't even a real estate customer. She was a property management tenant. So she never even bought property from the property management company. She did it under another company that we own that does property management. So I asked her if she would remove it. She did not. And so there's 2 ways to handle it. One is you can give a reply and just say, Mrs. Johnson was a tenant with this other company, whatever it may be. And the reason she wasn't happy was she was being evicted. So obviously not happy. You can ask them to take it down. And you can do a response to it. Those are the 2 main things. I always tell people you're going to have somebody who's going to give you a 4-star review, even if you've done everything instead in your head and spun. The key to that is more reviews. Right? So when you hit 100, 150 Google reviews, or you hit like we did in Zillow, we've got 275 5-star Zillow reviews. One bad review is not going to take and tank you.
Sure.
Right? So get more good reviews is the best way to handle that. And I like to leave a response, even if it's not a legitimate complaint. Giving a response says that you're engaged and you're looking at it as the business owner or as a realtor. And I said simply, the facts are she's a tenant for our property management company and gave the property management company. So, and I wasn't debating her complaint or anything else. I just put some facts out there.
Now, if you're a broker out there, is it fair generally to judge the agents who work in your agency by the reviews? How much stock do you put in that as a people manager?
I put a lot of stock into that. I mean, before I even talk to somebody about coming on board, I'm looking at their reviews. I'm looking at that
as part of the hiring process.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not going to waste my time with you if you got bad stuff out there. So typically, I mean, just like you would another job, I'm going to Google you. I'm going to look at your reviews. I'm going to look at your sales. Right? Those are 3 things that really matter. So yeah, absolutely. And if you don't think that consumers are looking at these reviews, you're absolutely wrong, because we do it all the time. I mean, I had clients coming to town. They're flying in on Thursday night, and we're going to go out to dinner. So I got on to TripAdvisor. I know Fort Myers. I'm a foodie. I love to eat out. But I'm like, I wonder what kind of place they'd like. And Chibo showed up, in the top Italian places in Fort Myers. And, I read through the reviews. I haven't been there personally in over a year. So I'm going through reviews, making sure the standards are still there, which they are. But we still look at that stuff. As consumers, we use reviews. So for agents and those folks not to think that people are reading them, they are. I promise you.
Now, from the consumer perspective, if I've just bought a house from you or one of the agents who works with you, people are always looking at the what's in it for me. Why would someone, a buyer or a seller, want to take the time to do it?
Well, there's a couple things you can do. I know there's companies out there that have done incentives for getting reviews. So doing a drawing or incentive to do reviews. Once a month, anybody did a review, they do it. They put their name in a hat and they draw out a $50 gift card.
Good or bad?
Good or bad review.
Do a review.
Just give us reviews.
Yeah.
And that goes from retail too. They give you a receipt and they say, call this number, give this code, we'll give you 10%
McDonald's,
off.
Yeah.
Right. So that works. I like to set that tone up front and tell them my job is to treat you better than family, to exceed your expectations. If I do that, there's 2 things I'm going to ask of you. One is for a review or testimonial of your experience, and number 2 is a referral of a friend or family. And I just do that up front. And then when they ask, again, is there anything else I need to do? Yeah, you need to get that review.
Well, Jason, I got to tell you, I would rate this discussion with us not 4 stars, but 5 stars. This is a 5-star interview. I really appreciate all the expertise you've shared with our audience today. You've got a lot of great stuff to say, and I could go on, but this happens to be a short takes edition of the Royal Palmcast, where we get a lot of information into a shorter than normal amount of time. And I want to thank you, Jason. How can people get in touch with you?
They can find me on Instagram at Jason_Jakus, Jakus. They can find me on Facebook. They can email me at jason@yournexthomeadvisors.com.
That's great. That's great. I also want to thank Jerry Johnson, our Director of Communication and today's Board Op. Jerry, thank you.
You're welcome.
Great to work with you as always. And a big thanks to Beata Jones, our CEO, who's been nothing if not supportive, helpful, and engaged in our podcast. Not only this podcast, but Realtor Riff Rap, our sister podcast with host Nick B. Jealous. Nick's a great guy, Begelis. I love saying Be Jealous. Just a fun name. Nick is also co-host of Realtors Corner, a video show we do on YouTube. His co-host is Joanna Rowell. Susan Milner does a market report, so be sure to check that out on YouTube. Subscribe, share, rate, reviews. We want them. 4 stars, 5 stars, whatever the max is, we'll take them. But be honest with us, folks. If you want to get in touch with us here at the Royal Palmcast, you can do so by sending an email to shows@rpcra.org. We're always happy to hear from you. Again, I'm Jim Sanville, your host, and I appreciate your listening and look forward to seeing you again next time.
Thanks for listening to this short takes edition of the Royal Palmcast. For the most current information and updates, stay tuned to our Facebook page and other social media. For our association members, make sure to also look for your Member Weekly newsletter in your email. Sponsorship opportunities now available for this and other RPCRA programming. For more information, email to sponsorships@rpcra.org. Stay connected with RPCRA and stay tuned. This has been a production of the Royal Palm Coast Realtor Association.